It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com, brought to us today by Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. If you like to drink at night and be able to think in the morning, one shot of Hangover Destroyer lets you have all the fun and no side effects. Google Hangover Destroyer or just go to hdestroyer.com if you can remember that. And also brought to us today by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or you have a schedule that keeps you away from home, the folks at Petite Pet Care understand that some pets are fine going to a kennel or doggy daycare, but others prefer the comfort of their own home. If that's your pet, for loving care when you are not there, give them a call at Petite Pet Care or find them at petitepetcare.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like or how they're looking at you, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail. And they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans. And this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar. In this case, we're at Wayfair on Ferret Street, on the new hip part of Ferret Street. Wayfair is a restaurant and a bar serving handcrafted food and spirits. Chef Kevin White puts fine dining into a sandwich, and if you're wondering if that's just some sort of bullshit slogan, let me tell you this. Chef Kevin moved to New Orleans for no other reason than he loves it here, and when he was in New York, he cooked alongside Mario Batali. How about that? This guy's taking the sandwich to a whole other level, and the bartenders here make a bunch of awesome Wayfair special cocktails as well, which we're drinking today. They have a 3-hour happy hour here from 4 to 7. We're at Wayfair on Ferret Street. My special guests sitting around the table here on Happy Hour today are in exactly this order. Miles Swanson. Hello, Miles.
Hello. How are you?
It's a very British sounding sort of name, isn't it, Miles?
My middle name's Wesley, so that's even
Miles
more.
Wesley Swanson. Wow.
I don't know what my
Are your
parents
parents
were thinking.
British?
No, they just thought it sounded nice.
Where are they from?
Washington, D.C., Maryland.
That's a great name. What are their names?
Jacqueline Swanson and Stephen Rowe Swanson.
Well, that's very sort of upper classy sounding too. What was your mother's maiden name and what's your social security number?
Peterson.
Yeah. And what's your social security number?
Her social security
number?
No, yours. Oh, am I supposed to?
No, that was the
Are
last
we going to edit this out later?
No, that was the last question. So are they sort of upper classy type people or from the Northeast type?
Oh, I wouldn't say. I mean, they're definitely from the Northeast. Yeah.
I don't know. We don't.
Well,
know
they're from
anybody.
Maryland, though, so that's below the Mason-Dixon line.
So that doesn't count as being from the Northeast, right?
Well, technically.
Okay.
Actually, Maryland, I think, is
This
above.
is Chris.
But they got to keep their slaves during the Civil War just because they would invade Washington.
Good deal.
Yeah,
How did you know that, Chris? Because you're from Maryland.
I am.
So how do you get to keep you get to keep slaves because you're below the Mason-Dixon line? Is that what you're saying? Well, they're above. No, you said they're above it.
I don't know. They got to keep slaves. I remember that part for a little while.
They were a border state.
They're a border?
They were a border state, yeah.
So were they part of the South or were they part of the North in the Civil War, technically?
They were a border state. They were
What does
part
it mean?
of the South.
Like Switzerland?
They were kind of like Switzerland.
The
No,
Switzerland
they were part of the
America?
North because that's why they didn't rebel. Is because they
Ruth,
got to
do you
keep
know?
everything.
Do you know, Ruth, do you know anything about
Oh,
this?
no,
Where are you from?
No, I was just rolling my eyes because
Well,
I
I
feel
know,
like
that
in
was-
Louisiana we can't get off this subject. But no,
We haven't
I'm
even started the fucking show.
I
then.
know.
Right.
I'm a musical pilgrim to New Orleans. I come from Bellevue, Washington.
You're from Washington?
Yes, state.
Okay. Let's go down the list here. Let me introduce Miles to you, first of all, so we know who we're talking to. Miles came to New Orleans after the storm to do volunteer work with Common Ground Relief. He only planned to stay for 2 weeks.
2
Holy
weeks.
crap, did
Yeah.
you really? But 2 weeks has turned into over 8 years. Miles coordinated Common Ground Relief's free legal clinic from 2005 to 2008. It says here, Miles, you were an AmeriCorps Pro Bono Legal Corps Fellow. Does that mean you work for free as a lawyer?
Yeah, basically.
Jesus Christ, that's a very unusual trait right there, isn't it? It's as unusual as your name. And you're now an attorney with a small solo practice, primarily working in criminal defense, personal injury, and civil rights. It doesn't get much more diverse than that by the sound of it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't think there was anyone working in civil rights and personal injury. That sounds like sort of paradoxical.
No, not at all.
Not really?
No.
I thought civil rights was the good guys and personal injury were just in it for the money.
No, not at all.
No? Personal injury can be legitimate, like...
Absolutely.
I thought it was just, don't take a check till you check with me and I can get you $18,000 if you got whiplash. No?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay. Miles is an avid bicyclist and an enthusiastic dog owner who, in everything he does, strives to give back to the community. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Graham says I'm not allowed to talk about slaves. Okay, you also have to hit the enter button because now it says I have olive oil, no slave talk. So if That's kind of like a poem. If you keep going, it'll be good. And I want to introduce you as well to Ruth Navarre. Hello, Ruth.
Hey, how you doing?
No, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
It's great to be here.
I know, isn't it? It says here that you are a New Orleans singer, harpist, violinist, and violist.
I wouldn't put it in that order, but yeah,
Okay,
I
which
do all
order?
those things.
What comes first?
Well, my degrees are in viola performance, and after that, I picked up violin and folk harp, and I just picked up singing on my own.
Okay. So first of all, you have a degree in viola?
2 degrees, yes.
2 degrees in viola.
You got it.
So the viola is like a violin, except it's more steroidal.
I wish I had brought both. It is actually between the violin and the cello.
The viola is somewhere between the violin and the cello. Has it got the same notes?
No, it's lower in range and has a deeper, more mellow sound.
Okay. So it's nowhere really between the I mean, is it musically between the cello and the...
Exactly.
'Cause
In
it's much-
range, it is between
right.
the violin and the cello.
Right. But the size of it is much more like a violin than a cello. The cello is-
Exactly. It's closer in size to the
Right.
violin, but larger enough to be more difficult to play.
Why did you pick up the viola and not the violin?
That's a good question. I was 9,
Finally,
and
I
it was
knew it.
arbitrary. Yeah, it's a good question to me because I was 9, and I really don't remember my reasoning.
It's not that good of a question then. I thought you'd have a good answer.
No, it's a
That's
good
not a
question
good
for
answer.
me. I
Oh,
have to. It
think
forces
back.
me to examine my
Okay,
motives
well-
at such an early age. But I love both.
Well, think back. How did you even know what a viola was when you were 9 years old?
I guess my first teacher exposed me to both, and I pointed at one.
Who was your first teacher?
Her name was Heather Raywald.
Heather Raywald. So did you call her Miss Heather, or what do they call them over
No,
there
they
in
don't do
Bellevue,
the Miss
Washington?
thing
They don't?
in Bellevue, Washington. We
What
were
do you
on
call
first name terms with our teachers.
So you called her Heather when she was 9. When you were 9. And
Yes.
how old was Heather?
Shouldn't say.
How old was she then? Did she seem like an old lady or young?
She seemed teetering on the brink of old age. Yes.
Right. And so what was she doing?
I'm sure she wasn't actually, but she seemed like it to me.
What was she doing teaching 9-year-old kids who had never... Were you
She
like
taught us violin and viola
That's what you did for a gig, at home or in a class?
at home. Yeah,
At
she
her
wasn't
home. So
actually
you went to
wasn't-
her home?
Yeah, and she
Did
wasn't
your mom
actually
drop you
very
off?
very good at it. No, my mom came with me to
So
make
your mom
sure
would sit there
that
to make sure Mrs.
she
Heather
got
didn't
her
f-
money's worth, which she did not, because my first teacher was unfortunately not very good and gave me technical issues that I was forced to address through grad school.
This is Heather Raywald.
Can we not use her name on this show? Yeah.
Too late. Now we've
Yeah,
already made...
sorry.
Let's not use
Well,
her name
he
again.
asked me, yes.
Let's not use her name again. So she taught you how to play
And it goes,
badly, wrong
yes, and
technique.
it goes to show kids,
What?
study with me because I
Right.
have better technique and I will
Right.
teach you better technique.
Why
yes.
didn't you sue her?
Because she doesn't,
Miles,
she doesn't have any money.
Okay, what could we get out of her, Miles?
A lot of money.
She doesn't have any.
She doesn't have any money.
Yeah.
Oh, well then.
What would you... Is there any redress, Miles, available? Talking to this microphone over here. There you
Talking
go.
to this
That's
microphone.
it, this one, yes.
Oh,
Good
okay.
man. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know. She doesn't have any money? She has to have a
I
car or
doubt it.
something.
She has a car.
She
We can
has
get her car.
future
Probably
earnings?
wasn't a very
Is she
nice
still alive?
car. Good question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Well, let's go. Hey, look her up, Chris.
Yeah, let's send this old bag to
Heather
the poorhouse.
Raywald. Raewald, I bet, is it? From Bellevue, Washington.
Well, I was going
She was
to.
teetering on the brink of old age then, and well, that
Yeah.
can't have been. You're pretty young. It can't have been that long ago. I'm
That's
sure.
true. Yes. Well, I was going to say, luckily, I had the opportunity to go on and study with wonderful teachers in universities from a slightly older age.
So what happened? What did she teach you that was wrong? What technique?
I would have to demonstrate, but
Sure,
I
go
will
ahead.
later. Oh, sure. I'll
Yeah.
be right back.
Okay. I can continue reading this. Well, I can't read it without you being here. I suppose I only got one
Yeah, it's
sentence
kind of-
into the whole
yeah.
intro here, and I
Yeah.
have a whole paragraph that they gave me. And so
Wait, I want to go back to
Go
the
ahead.
dog thing. What was that dog place? Because I need something like that. My dog,
petite pet care.
my dog,
Yeah.
I can't board him. He freaks out, and I actually have to have someone stay at my house.
Okay, well, this
so
is-
I might need something like that.
This
So
is the
I-
way
I-
to go. Petite
yeah.
pet care. This Christy
Okay.
at Petite Pet Care is
Okay.
awesome.
I'm gonna need to do that.
Yeah, well, that's why they advertise, so you can find out about them. So give them a call at whatever the number is, or go to petitepetcare.com. P-E-T-I-T. It's
Okay.
French, by the way. Did you know
Okay.
that?
No.
Pet.
What?
Pet is not. Pet's English.
Pet.
Mm.
Petite.
Petite is French. It means something. I don't know. Does it mean something in French, petite?
Small.
I think it's small. Is it small pet cat?
Small pet care.
She's average size.
Because my
Christy.
dog's large.
How big is your dog?
He's about 110
That's
pounds.
large. That is
Yeah.
super large. What
Yeah.
sort of dog is he?
He's
my
a
weight.
Chesapeake Bay Retriever. He's about
Oh,
your
they're
size.
beautiful.
That's my weight.
Yeah.
You weigh 110 pounds, Rick?
Or 11, yeah.
111 on an average day.
Yeah,
and the
he's
dog's
about your
110.
size. Yeah, he learned how to open
Wow.
up the refrigerator, so I had to put a lock on it. So that's why he's a very difficult dog.
What a great dog. What's his name?
Brilliant.
Huey.
Huey.
Yeah.
He sounds very precocious.
Do you like to eat, Ruth?
sometimes.
Okay, so then maybe your
He
Ruthven
likes to
dog.
eat too. Yeah.
I wonder.
Adopt
I wonder
me.
how much amount of food he eats compared to how much you
I'm
would eat.
sure I would lose. I'm sure I would lose.
Do you think? How many?
Girls usually come up short in eating competitions because they've conditioned themselves to eat less in an attempt to keep their weight down. Except I should mention champions of the IFOS, International Federation of Competitive Eating. One of the top 5 last time I checked was this 105-pound Asian young lady named Sonia Thomas, who can best these gluttonous, huge American guys just because she's Asian. And
This is a woman from here. That she ate all those oysters. Is that who
she
you're
has
talking
an
about?
Asian background. She's from here.
I think there
Sonia
is a.
Thomas.
No, maybe she's not. There's a Vietnamese woman. I think she's a Vietnamese woman here who won the oyster eating contest about like 3 or 4
I'm
years in a
talking
row.
about a professional. Yeah, she's
you
very
can make a
distinguished.
living out of that.
If you're good enough, which apparently she is.
What's the name of the organization?
International Federation of Competitive Eating.
How did you know that?
I hung out with trombonists at my first college. Yeah.
Because, wait, what does that have to do with?
Oh, trombonists are weird, and they just have diverse
And they're into competitive
interests.
eating, or
Well, they didn't personally, but they were fans rather.
Okay,
Yeah, I started at the University of Washington before transferring to LSU.
right. And what's the name of the woman?
UW? Is that what it is? UW?
Yes, you got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
UW.
Yeah,
What's her
UW.
name? The competitive champion eater, Asian
Sonia
woman?
Thomas. I don't know if she's retired by now, but last I heard she was like second in the world,
What sort
right
of-
up there with
how-
Kobayashi and all of them.
What's the guy that eats the hot dogs from Japan?
He eats many things, but yes, he's known for
That's the
coming
reason
up
I know
first
because
in
he
hot
comes.
dogs.
Well, he comes to the United States for the 4th of July hot dog eating contest. in New
Well, this
York,
is the
and-
place to be for hot dog eating.
So, have you ever tried competitive eating, Ruth?
Oh no,
mean,
quite
just
the
for the hell of
opposite. Like I said,
What have you done? Competitive throwing up?
well,
Or
unfortunately,
competitive bulimia. Is there a
Yeah.
competitive bulimia?
Well, I don't know.
Graham
but
didn't say don't
unfortunately,
talk
yeah.
about it. So
No, I grew up doing ballet, so unfortunately, like I said, like many girls,
Right.
I conditioned myself to eat less.
those girls who have to do ballet, did they tell you have to have tiny breasts?
No, but I stopped when I was 14 before that became much of an issue.
Right.
But luckily, that never wouldn't become a problem for me anyway.
So even up to 14, there was pressure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
not
I
eat
was
as a
the fat
fool?
kid in my ballet class.
Wow.
Always, yeah.
And what was the deal? I mean, people are serious
Well,
about being a dancer. I guess.
a lot of the ballet students were full Asian. I'm only half
What's the other half?
Jewish.
So you're Asian and Jewish, like
Yes, sir.
like Genghis Khan.
Exactly. Good pun. No, not
I didn't
really.
make it up.
No.
It's a restaurant
No.
somewhere. Where is
Okay.
that? Is that here?
Never heard of it.
Genghis Khan.
And
Is
I
that
probably
here, Graham, or is it
wouldn't.
in
I
somewhere
probably
else?
wouldn't approve it because unfortunately I've had real Chinese food, so I don't really eat
So
Americanized Chinese
what
food.
two? So your one parent is Chinese, and the other parent is American Jewish.
Exactly.
Okay, how'd they meet?
My dad dropped out of Harvard, and my mom audited there, so neither of them got a degree, but they hung out there,
Dropped out of Harvard.
taking classes rather, and hanging out. I imagine.
That sounds pretty cool, right? Did Steve Jobs drop out of Harvard, Graham?
I don't
Well,
think he went to college.
no, Mark Zuckerberg did.
Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of
Yeah.
Harvard as well.
So the legend goes.
So you said it was your mom was auditing classes. That means you just go and sit in on classes.
Yeah, and sometimes I believe she would have professors as her faculty advisors on research.
Okay. And what was she studying?
Her master's was in movement analysis and dance therapy, but then she decided she wanted to make some money, so she got her PhD in psychology.
That's a good idea. So she's a therapist.
No, not anymore. She ended up in real estate after the divorce.
Oh, they got divorced.
Oh yeah.
So this is not a good story about Asian Jewish combo.
No, I think it's
That's
charming.
good for you,
I
and
mean,
you've
yeah,
turned
I
out
am
okay.
proud to. Yeah, I mean, half Asians are taking over the world.
So what did your father drop out of studying?
Math.
Math.
He taught me math
He
before
got-
the divorce.
But he
though,
got
so-
into
Yeah.
Harvard to do math, which is pretty impressive. What school did you go to, Mars?
For college, for undergrad, or law school? I went to Fordham University for undergrad.
Okay.
Did you guys
Same
go
as
to-
Jimmy Graham from the Saints, right?
Did he go to Fordham
Didn't you go to
University in the
Fordham?
Bronx?
Where is that?
In the
It's in New York
Bronx.
City.
Oh,
somewhere.
okay.
Yeah.
Didn't Jimmy Graham go to Fordham?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
Oh, somebody has to
I don't
tell
know.
me
And
that.
then I went to University District of Columbia for law school.
Okay, so you, District of Columbia, and then you came down here after the storm
Correct. Yeah.
to get more tattoos, or just
Exactly.
how many did you have when you got here?
I had a few.
You got tons now.
But I
see
do have
all over
tons,
your
yeah.
arm.
Yeah. There's quite a few good tattoo artists.
Should we
down
go
here.
through them one at a time?
We could do that.
Let's go through some of them. Some of them
Okay.
look amazing. What's the giant sort of a frog thing? That's
It's
got-
sort of a toad. He's got a king. It's a king toad. He's got a
what's
crown.
coming out of his mouth?
Oh,
Well,
he's got
tongue,
his
but I mean,
tongue.
what's
He's
it
got
hitting?
it wrapped around a fly.
A fly.
He's got a
okay.
scepter here.
We'll just wait up for one sec. Where'd you come up with the idea for that one?
Actually, I was at Antoine's. One of my good friends here worked at Antoine's, and I went up into one of their old ballrooms upstairs, and they had some kind of old paintings of old Mardi Gras invitations and those sorts of things that were incredibly sort of surreal, and especially the ones from around the turn of the century, from the old line cruise. And I saw that and I thought that would make an interesting inspiration for a tattoo.
So is that? I thought maybe you had the frog's leg or something.
I do love frog legs, but
but this is that frog that you have tattooed on your arm. Is that the same as the painting at Antoine's?
it's not exactly
or is it
the same, but it was
inspired
definitely
by?
sort of an inspiration.
Right.
So.
Okay, and then above that, there's some sort of an octopus-looking thing. Or something?
Yeah, it's a Lady Justice.
Wow.
It's
Oh
Lady
my
Justice.
God.
She's wearing high heels, and
Wow.
she's throwing a Molotov cocktail at an octopus and wrestling with the octopus.
I'm sorry, is she a graphic novel character?
Lady Justice.
Yeah.
She is the
looks like
symbol
it.
of our of the justice system. So if you go to
Oh,
any
does she have
courtroom,
scales?
she does have the scales.
Oh, I
She's
see.
blind.
I've only heard of that motif as blind justice.
Yeah,
okay.
blind justice.
Oh, now I
She's wearing
see.
high heels.
Oh,
You can
okay.
kind of see
It's
it
like a-
over here.
She looks like a.
You're right.
I
She
mean,
looks
I
like
don't
an
know if she's an
anime version.
allegorical character, but she could make, I'm sure, a graphic novel hero.
This fantastic artist here in New Orleans, Don Davis, and he used to work at Tattoo A Go-Go. I'm at Eye Candy on magazine. Now he works at Tattoo A Go-Go, and he did all that artwork on my arm.
Where's Tattoo Go-Go?
Tattoo A Go-Go is right on magazine above Napoleon, just next to Buddha Belly.
Oh, okay, right there.
Yeah.
It's close to us.
Yeah,
So
and Don is actually an amazing artist, and besides being a tattoo artist, he also tattoos nipples on women who've had breast reconstruction surgery, and he's one of the most talented artists here in New Orleans I've seen.
you mean he tattoos a sort of a faux nipple?
Yeah, women who've had breast reconstruction surgery.
You mean after breast cancer or something?
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't get your nipples sewn back on after?
I think that is certainly a possibility, but I think a lot of it is tattooing too. So he's apparently pretty good at it. So
I never knew that. That sounds extremely painful.
yeah,
So you can have the breast reconstructed, but you have to have the nipple tattooed on.
yeah,
Did he tell you that?
yeah.
How long did it take to do this? Like if you have a lot of conversation.
The whole arm probably about 2 days, like a solid 48 hours,
Right.
because it was multiple sessions.
You weren't awake for 48 hours. I mean, you weren't there for 40 hours straight.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
multiple sessions.
Yeah, over time. Right.
6 hours here, 6 hours there.
Right. So you think he talks to everybody about tattooing nipples on women, or did he just talk to you about that?
It's a point of conversation.
I mean, how did you get to that?
Quite a conversation starter.
That's what I was thinking.
He, I don't, you talk about all kinds of things when you're getting tattooed, there for hours. So,
Right.
but apparently he's very, very good at it, and he's all over Louisiana at all the hospitals doing it. So
Wow.
he's very much in demand for it.
That's it. And something I never. Did you know about that, Ruth? You ever heard that?
Oh no. I was wondering though. I was going to ask if he does any of those progressive three-dimensional optical illusion tattoos, because those can be incredibly detailed.
I don't know. He does sort of. He has definitely his distinct style. I know he does sort of a lot of the Asian sort of Japanese style tattooing, but
That's what you were thinking of the Lady Justice was, a sort of anime.
but he's very sort of surreal in his color and drawing. So he's very good.
That's pretty impressive. And have you been back home since you've had these and everyone say, what the hell happened to you?
Yeah. My parents are
What do your
usually asking
parents
more
think?
questions.
What
They
are they-
just-
what do
they
your
kind of
parents-
just stopped asking questions after the first one.
There aren't
Uh,
many times you go to the lawyer and
They
you...
can't really complain. I mean, I don't think they can complain too much.
Is it expensive to get one?
Sometimes it is, but I do trade sometimes too.
You
so
doing trade with Don Davis at Tattoo
I
Go-Go?
I do
Is
trade
he
with people sometimes for work. So
Yeah, but what can you trade in? Like legal stuff?
legal work. I mean, if someone needs, whether it's a divorce or help out with some sort of traffic tickets or whatever it is that they need help out with.
Your parents could have traded it for their divorce. They don't do tattoos though, right? Neither of them.
No, we're Jewish.
You don't have a tattoo if you're Jewish.
I know Jews with tattoos.
Jews
Well,
with tattoos. That's a
because
great
they're,
name for your new
progressive,
book.
Yes, they're progressive,
But Orthodox Jews don't have tattoos.
right. And I wouldn't describe us as orthodox. We're more selectively observant, but
Okay.
we're selective to the point of excluding tattoos.
Okay. So, do you call yourself Asian and Jewish? Are you both?
Ethnically, yes. I mean, Jewish can have all sorts of implications. It can be a religion, which it is in my case. It can be cultural. It
Right.
could even be nationality. If you're Israeli, they call themselves Jews, even if they're not religious at
Right.
all.
Right.
So
But you're observant. I mean, you you go to synagogue.
I'm selectively observant. Yeah,
selectively observant,
yeah. My
right.
ex-boyfriend gave me hell for that because he's a native and he knows mostly Reform Jews who just don't bother with any of the mitzvot or the rules.
So you dumped him.
No, he dumped me.
Why did he dump you?
What's his name and social security number?
Thank you. I have to speak to my attorney.
We
but-
just weren't compatible.
But you were compatible with him. He didn't feel he was compatible with you.
Yes.
That sucks.
To
But
his
what-
credit,
yes.
he was very generous and giving, and I wasn't giving enough in return.
So that's what you learnt from that relationship.
Sorry?
That's what you learnt from that relationship. That
Absolutely.
you need to be more
It
giving.
was
What, you're
very-
more selfish?
Yes.
Hmm.
It was a hard-earned lesson.
Hmm.
Yes.
Are you still in love with him?
As much as I ever was.
Really? You're as in love with him today as you were when you were together?
Well, this was on Sunday, so yeah.
Oh, no. And today's only Thursday, and he broke up with you on Sunday.
And he lives a few blocks that way.
Oh, we need to go get him.
Yeah.
Aw.
Graham will go get him for you. Oh, that's sorry. I didn't know it was so, recent. Well, maybe you'll get back together. Hey.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend that. Like I said,
only
I
been
learned
4
a lot of
days.
difficult yeah, it has. Like I said, I learned a lot of difficult lessons about things I need to go sort out.
Okay. So you got to go figure it out, and then maybe. But it sounds like you figured it out already.
Well,
I mean, if
anyway.
you know that was the problem, why didn't he tell you you're selfish and you said I'm sorry, and then everybody make up and get on? with
Oh,
it?
it happened many times.
Oh, so you just are
That happened. That's all, that's all sunk costs.
sunk costs.
Oh, yeah, that's from economics. It's not the perfect metaphor. But
Sunk costs. Do you know
yeah.
that, Miles?
I'm not an economist.
I've never heard that. I like that though.
Yeah.
Sunk costs.
It
What
means
does it
it's too late to recover the cost.
Well, so it's like a bad debt. It's all sunk
Uh,
costs.
Yeah, it's more like you've already wasted your money on something, and you
Oh.
are never going to
Recover
recoup the cost
anything.
through business.
Right.
Yes.
So there's no point. It's like throwing good money after bad.
As in, it's already been spent, and the business
Right.
venture has also failed.
Well, how
There's
long were
probably
you?
ways to write it off, thoff
We're
I
still
don't know what
we're
that
still
means.
friendly.
How long were you together as a couple?
About 6 months.
So that's not all that long. So you have. So if you figured out.
I still have a chance to recover. Yes.
But if you figured out in 6 months a major life lesson, which is how to be giving and
Exactly.
loving and not selfish, I would say that was a 6 months well spent in a relationship worth having.
That's a
Wouldn't you,
very
Miles?
wise. That's a very wise takeaway. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we're going to talk about your terrible technique as a violin player,
Well, I've fixed it by now. but
which
yes.
which Miss
As an
which
early,
the
as a
woman whose
young
name thankfully I can't
violist.
remember taught you. Heather
Yes.
Rewald, was
Oh
it?
my God! Stop saying it.
Was it right? Did I
What's
get
her
that
social
right?
security
You know what? I have no beef with my first teacher.
No, we're not
She
going to
just-
we're not going to get down on Heather for this.
Right.
But
So-
explain to us what she taught you badly.
Well, first of all, I got this habit when in fact the wrist should be straight, which is so important that I make my students make a fist a lot before I even let them start holding the neck of the violin. The wrist should be straight. You should have a straight line from your elbow to your wrist to your knuckles. And a lot of people get this habit because they're trying to stretch out their fingers further along the neck, especially in cases of viola, which has a longer fingerboard.
Is this a viola we're looking at or a violin?
No,
this
sorry,
is a
this is
violin.
my violin.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer it as a folk musician, so that's what you're going to get today.
Okay. Is
right.
this Jewish or a Chinese?
Is what?
The folk music. Which
We'll
folk
find
is it?
out.
Which
a
nationality?
bunch
Okay,
of-
we'll
it's a
find out.
bunch of
We'll see if we can
things.
guess. Okay.
You'll find out.
Okay,
I
so tell us
also-
about your bad technique. So that was the first thing. Your wrist was in the
Right.
wrong place.
I also got this habit.
could
As you
you
can see, my
possibly not
fingers
know that?
are bunched up and they're not spread out as they should be for a balance bow
Very
hold.
cute little
Or,
fingers you have. Doesn't she,
right.
Miles? Very delicate.
Yeah.
So you have to your pinky
yeah.
rests on the end of
Not
the.
just that, but the pinky should be curved, and a lot of people get this habit of the squashed fingers. A lot of people also get, I can't even do it wrong, get this habit
That's
of
weird.
the bent, the raised knuckles, and the top of your hand should be flat. It takes time to learn. My students struggle with it all the time. I also got this habit of only playing in the upper half of the bow. Why? Because to play lower in the bow, you have to develop flexibility in the wrist, which is much more difficult. I didn't address that until college. And she never taught me vibrato.
So that's wiggling your fingers around so it makes it sound
Pretty much,
something like.
yeah.
Why do violin players do that?
Where do they
Vibrato.
learn it?
Why do they do it? What does it make
Sweetens the sound. If you don't use it, let's just say that now that we have steel strings, and when the violin was first invented, it had gut strings. The sound is a lot drier. There are a number of ways to compensate for this. Classical string players use vibrato. Irish fiddlers just play notes so fast you don't have time to notice the dry sound. And bluegrass and American fiddle players do a sort of swooping sliding sound. You'll hear that pitch sliding all the time. They do that so they don't have to rest too long on a steady pitch.
Can you play all these different styles of violin yourself?
Classical, yes. Celtic, yes. A little bit of bluegrass, yes. And a bit of klezmer.
Wow. So you picked all that up as part of your own studies or as part of studies in school?
No, in fact, I was discouraged as a classical violist from learning other styles and instruments.
Really?
Unfortunately, yes. But
Okay,
they didn't.
so-
My teachers didn't know I'd move here and have to know other instruments and styles.
You have to here if you're going to make a living.
Absolutely. I mean, how
So-
often do the two of you go to symphony concerts?
I've never been to
Exactly.
a symphony concert.
Yeah.
Never been ever?
Never been to a symphony concert.
I might have been a couple of times. I used
There
to
you
go.
go.
I used to go to the opera quite a lot before the storm for some reason, but
Okay.
now I don't go at all.
Well, would you like to hear some bluegrass or Celtic fiddling?
I like
Ye-
bluegrass.
Yeah, I like bluegrass. Okay,
That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the point.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, I thought you were going to play something for us.
I might.
When?
Now, if you like.
Okay, that'd be
All
great.
right.
Yeah. Okay, what are you
Right.
going to play?
Well, what style are you looking for?
What are you thinking, Miles?
I like bluegrass.
Bluegrass would be
Okay.
great. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
you can play
if I-
anything you feel like. What do you feel like playing?
May I remove my headphones so
You
I
can
can move more
certainly do
easily?
anything,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
I mean, what mood are you in right now? Are you, happy, angry, sad,
Yes, yes, and yes.
contemplative?
All right. Well, here's some bluegrass just because people like it. Can if I stand, will you be able to hear me? Maybe turn the
Yeah,
mic up?
Chris will figure it out.
All right. All right.
Whoa!
Oh Lord.
How many drinks have you had?
0. Can you hear me?
0. Chris, can we hear that?
Yeah.
All right,
Sure.
Here we go.
Gonna pack up some of these empties, Lord, just as soon as I know where they lay. To them towers and leaving lines on a long hot summer day. From river to work on the Illinois River, get up a day off with me. Pulling up barges on a long hot summer day. Got me gal and creaking. She's a good little gal out there. Sitting in the wind by a window fan on a long hot summer day. Forever to work on the Illinois River. Get up a day off with me. Pulling up barges on a long hot summer day. Letterman, Huff, and Beard stirred when we come down yesterday. I'm gonna get off and I'll turn on a long hot summer day. Forever to work on the Illinois River, get up a day off with me. Pull up barges on a long hot summer day.
Wow.
Thank you.
Ruth Navarro, thank you very much. That was not what I was expecting at all. Were you, Miles? That was very aggressive.
Thank you. Well, I promise it was bluegrass.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be that aggressive. Did you, Miles? It was like
No, it was good. It was great.
Well, usually the audience would be a little further away, to be fair.
Yeah,
Oh, I
that's
should say that is not mine. That's Long Hot Summer Day by John Hartford.
John Hartford. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so I just realized, thanks for doing. That's pretty amazing. You can just stand up there and do that.
Oh, I'm so glad you liked it.
You're pretty impressed as well, weren't you, Miles? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So, Miss Rayburn would be shocked if she. What was her name?
Do we have to
Ray
bring
Wall.
up her name?
She would have been
Yes.
shocked to see that. Anyway, listen, I just realized we've got, a long way through the show, and I haven't read this intro that they gave me to read about you. Wait till you hear this.
Mm-hmm.
I only got to the word singer, harpist, violinist, and violist, and you said not in that order, so we had to reorder
Well,
it back to
I'm
violist.
sorry, I had to correct you.
Ruth has been a violist in the Acadiana Symphony Orchestra and the Baton Rouge Symphony Orchestra before teaching at the Lafargue
You got
Music
it.
School in Metairie and at Maker State here in New Orleans. Maker State, I thought that was like an insurance company. Was that Quaker State?
Close. It's actually a STEM or a STEAM educational company. STEAM meaning science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
No, so we mostly hear about STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and
Well,
math.
we're
So
innovative. What
we
can I
threw the
say?
arts in there. They put it in the middle, so it made STEAM, rather than at the end it was STEMmer.
Mm-hmm.
Who came up with that acronym, actually?
That's a good question.
Two good questions in one show. Thank you.
I
very much.
know. Yeah, all these probing questions I don't know the answer to.
Okay, we'll look it up. Anyway, it says at the Maker State School in New Orleans, Ruth introduces children to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You teach all that through the creative
I'm not
arts.
currently. I did.
You did. So you're a
Um,
bit like your dad with the math.
Yeah, I kept up my
Switching.
math through grad school, but not nearly enough for a degree, unfortunately. But I enjoy it.
But you can teach little kids at the Maker
That
State.
too, which is a very different skill set than knowing college level math.
Where
of
is it?
course.
Where is Maker State?
Oh, it's actually an organization that teaches classes in public and charter schools around the city. So they send us out to work with the schools.
That's pretty cool, actually. So you don't have to go to one school every day. You're
Oh, that's
moving-
right. In
you're
fact, I'm
moving
not even
around.
teaching with them right now.
Okay.
But I did last fall.
Okay. Well, these are usually out of date when I get these.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, don't worry about it. So Ruth is also a folk musician, which we know. In New Orleans, you can find her at the Neutral Ground.
Absolutely.
And other spots playing the harp, it says here, though, but that's not true.
I learned harp when I visited my mom in Washington for 2 months.
Right.
There's a much bigger folk music and folk instrument scene there, and that's where I rented my first harp. And
You can rent a harp.
Absolutely, for about $35 a month. Here, they run
that's
more
cheap.
like $100 a month, or you can get one for about $4,000. So I've been struggling to find an affordable one since I got back.
You're looking for a cheap harp somewhere.
Exactly.
I guess there aren't too many people selling it. Why would you sell a harp, I wonder? Get sick of it? Wanna
Because
trade
it
up?
gets old, or because it was never that good to start with. Apparently, I've had people try to sell me a harp that there was no sound, no decent sound coming out of it for $1,000, and I said sorry.
Shitty harp. So someone bought, did they not have a clue when they bought it, or did it goes bad?
I guess
somehow?
so. I think it's a combination of both. I'm not an expert. I started it just a few months ago.
Yeah. I wonder how that made its way into this bio of yours here.
Well, I didn't write it. That's all I can
It's
say.
a fairly dull sort of instrument to play, I would think, isn't it?
Excuse me, a dull instrument to play?
To play, I would think
Well,
it would
first
be.
of all, it's challenging, and second
It
of all,
might be difficult, but it's sort of. I would think it would be sort of used plucking those strings. It can't be. I mean, there's not much you can
plucking
do.
a lot of strings at once. It's more like finger picking on the guitar.
Right. But there doesn't seem to be much you can do. It's just sitting. I guess the piano just sits there too. There's not much you can do.
As
with it.
opposed to,
I don't know, like you bending notes on a violin or singing or something.
you can bend notes on harp if
You
you're
can?
skilled enough, if you know how.
Oh,
Absolutely,
really? Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I don't mean to.
You can also
I don't mean
play
to be-
jazz on a harp.
I
and you
don't
can
mean to
finger pick
belittle
on a
that.
harp.
Yeah. Well, there's some pretty talented harp players.
I personally do mostly Celtic and folk rock of the 60s and 70s, and some pop.
Okay, folk rock of the 60s and 70s.
Because it
Harp.
sounds
What are we talking about?
so much better.
What
on a
song is
folk
one of your
harp.
favorite 60s
Oh,
and
okay,
70s?
like Cat Stevens' "Sad Lisa." It sounds so much better on a harp.
Okay.
I really regret that I do not have one today.
I regret it too.
Simon and Garfunkel's "Sounds of Silence," better on a harp. Leonard Cohen, "Hallelujah," better on a harp. Just think about that one. Leonard Cohen, "Hallelujah." Joni Mitchell, her early stuff, the mellow stuff, better on a harp.
Wow. Do you sing with it as well?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you accompany yourself on harp
That's how
singing.
I use it. Yeah, I don't solo much on it.
Okay, that sounds
Not
a bit
much of
better.
harp
What about
soloist.
Stairway to Heaven? So do you do requests?
Stairway to Heaven is a bit more challenging because it's very chromatic. It has a lot of notes outside the key, and think of a harp as like a piano without the black keys. If you want one of the black keys, you have to mess with the levers on a lever harp or the pedals on a pedal harp. So that's one of the things that makes it much more challenging.
We had a guy on our show a couple of weeks ago called Phil Degree. Have you seen him play? He's a guitar player. He plays
I'm sorry, who?
Phil Degree.
I regret that I have not.
Degruy. You can find him at the Columns Hotel many nights. He plays an instrument that he created called a guitar, which has, I think, 17 strings, he said.
Sounds like a good start.
It's got 8
I prefer 26.
strings. How there's 26 strings on a harp?
On a 26-string harp, there's a whole family of harps.
26.
Yeah, a full. I don't play concert harp. I play folk harp.
That's
and
different.
Oh yeah. How
many strings on a
They're
concert
also
harp?
called a lever harp because they don't have, as opposed to a pedal harp, which just means the mechanism for changing the pitch of the strings is different. So if
Okay.
you want to change the pitch of the string and add in some of the black key notes, on a lever harp you flip the levers, on a pedal harp you press the pedals. So on a lever harp I prefer 26 to 34 strings, just because it's all I need and it's more portable.
Okay, I've got one. I've got one more sentence. Miles, I'm going to see what your opinion is on this sentence.
Okay.
In 2013, Ruth
2013.
Ruth competed for the title of Miss Louisiana.
It's actually
As-
incorrect.
as Miss
I
Caddo
hate-
Parish.
I hate to correct you. I was Miss Caddo Parish, but I was.
wow.
But here's how it works. After you win a qualifying title, like Miss Baton Rouge, Miss Crescent City, Miss Caddo Parish, etc., that's when the organization tells you that you have to raise a little over $700 for the organization through either from your own pocket or through ad sales, that is selling ad space in the program. And if you don't, you're disqualified. It's not in the written contract. They just tell you verbally that if you want to compete at state, you have to come up
Sounds
with
like
the
a
money.
scam. Sounds like a
I-
like Scientology or
I
something.
didn't say it, but let's say they did. I will say no one told me that until I won my first title.
Your first title. How many titles did you win?
Oh, just the one because.
So then you find out it's a shakedown,
Yes.
and you've got to
Like
come
a-
up with
yeah, pyramid scheme
$700.
or something.
Yeah.
And I approached, and here's the thing, it's marketed as a scholarship organization. Supposedly the winners get scholarship money, but unfortunately, if you want to compete, you have to raise the money for the
Yeah, that sounds like a
scholarships.
pyramid scheme, like the herbal life coffee, herbal tea thing that's going on right
There's
now.
a certain comparison to be made.
What is Caddo Parish? Where is that?
That's up by Shreveport.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
just
you've
up
just
there.
been
I
in
was just up
Shreveport
there. I
right
just
now.
got back. Yeah.
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 What were you doing up there?
There's a methamphetamines trafficking case.
How did you get dragged up into Shreveport into that?
Well, person got caught possessing methamphetamines.
In Shreveport? Because you live here in New Orleans.
In DeSoto Parish, yes.
Well, DeSoto Parish. Which one's that?
It's Mansfield is the center of DeSoto Parish.
And is this somebody from New Orleans?
Yes.
So you knew them already, or they found you in the Yellow Pages or on Google, or how?
Something like that. Yeah.
How do they find you?
We referrals.
Wow. So
Yeah.
this kid gets caught. I guess it's a kid. I don't know how old this person is. Anyway, so this person gets caught with methamphetamine
Correct.
possession,
Possession.
not
yes.
making it.
No, not making it.
How do you get caught with that? What happened?
The traffic stops. There's a lot of methamphetamine trafficking going on up there. So,
But how do
there-
you get caught? I mean, it's one thing to do drugs and everything. Like everybody does drugs. I'm sure you don't, of course. Or Ruth, you wouldn't touch drugs, right?
No, actually, I don't.
But most people don't get caught. I'm always fascinated by how people get caught.
well, when you're wrapped up in that lifestyle, you tend to do stupid things. And
What did this person do?
this person got stopped. It was a traffic stop.
I've
and,
actually heard that if you don't want to get caught with drugs, just don't ever drive.
don't drive. Stay in school. That sort of stuff. Yeah.
But his point
Stay in
was
school,
that
don't do drugs.
His point was that the cops will never notice you unless you put yourself in their way by driving.
Putting yourself in a moving vehicle certainly makes it easier to get caught.
That too.
But how
being
do you
high.
get caught? I've been driving in a moving vehicle. I'm sure everyone listening to this has been drunk behind the wheel or high behind the wheel at some point, and most of the time you don't get caught. And then you read these stories like your client here, some poor bastard who's driving along and someone gets pulled over for some reason and he's got 15 tons of methamphetamine on the front
That would
seat.
be a lot of methamphetamines.
Oh,
That
okay,
would be
well,
a-
13 tons. So how much did this person get caught with?
It was a substantial amount. Yeah.
But how did they get caught? What was the deal? What's the trick? How do you not get caught?
How do you not get caught?
Yeah, other than staying at
You
home.
don't drive around
Don't drive-
being high
Exactly.
and being stupid.
So how did this person get pulled over? What did they do?
I mean, I can't get into specifics about the case, but
Well, change the speed of the car.
I mean, you're basically you commit a traffic violation, and then one thing leads to another. The officer is going to come up on you. He's going to see that you're acting a little shady. You're probably talking really, really fast because you've been high on methamphetamines for 3-4 days, and then
Is that how long it lasts?
Yeah.
Real? Wow.
yeah. So
How much do you have to take to be high for 3 or 4 days?
I don't know. I've never actually done methamphetamines before, but I don't think it takes very much.
Okay.
So.
So you get pulled over and you're freaking out.
And you're freaking out and
And
tweaking.
The cop says,
It's
listen.
tweaking.
Listen,
Yeah.
tweaking.
Tweaking.
The cop says,
You're
listen
tweaking
here.
out.
I'm going to blow into this.
And listen here, do you all happen to have any drugs? I stopped you all for a traffic violation. Do you all have any drugs on you by any chance?
You're
Do you
allowed
mind
to-
if I search the car?
You're allowed to do that?
Well, the
What
officer
if you
can
do
ask
mind
you.
if he searches the car?
Well, then you tell the officer no.
Okay.
Okay,
But
this is good
sometimes,
information.
Sometimes
So
you think
say
it's
no.
sometimes you think it's okay if you just tell the officer yes, he's not going to search your car. Then he ends up searching your car.
I
So-
mean, do they technically need a warrant?
No, they
what-
don't need a warrant. Well, if you give them
Really?
permission to search your car, they
If you
don't.
say no, and they do it anyway, is that unreasonable search and seizure?
It depends. They need something else to get in your car, so it's sort of it depends.
Well, there you go.
Well, hang on.
A lot of legal answers. It sort of hinges. It depends.
So,
I hear that a lot from lawyers.
Yeah.
but what is the truth, though? If
What's the truth?
Yeah, I mean,
What's the
Stay in
law?
school, don't do drugs.
but if someone says to you, if a cop's saying, "Can I search your car?" you were supposed to say no.
Fuck no.
Fuck no.
Fuck no.
Like that.
Go get
Can
a
you be
warrant.
arrested for saying "fuck" to a cop?
No.
Okay, so we're good to go.
It's probably
on
not the
that.
best thing to do in DeSoto Parish. When you're getting pulled over.
But so if you
But-
say to a cop, "Can I search your car?" and the cop says no, what do they say next? Typically,
Wait,
they
if
can
you're
say,
searching
well,
the
what?
cop's
And then
car?
can I search your car?
can I search your
That's what
car?
I heard.
You're allowed to say that. You're allowed to ask if you can search the cop's car. Ruth, what?
Yeah.
This is in Caddo Parish. They say that, do they?
I never attempted to search a cop's car in Caddo Parish or elsewhere.
You ever had a relationship with a cop?
No.
Could be a good boyfriend for you next.
I'll work on it.
Okay, just wondering about that. So, so you say, no, you can't search my car.
No,
officer.
I can't search my
So
car.
then what happens? What does the officer say next? All right, well, have a nice day.
Well,
Bye.
I mean, there's a difference between the letter of the law and what happens in real life. So
Yeah, but the trick of
In
getting
other
away
words,
with it
it's
is
not
to stay.
illegal when you're a cop. In other words, it's not illegal when you're a cop.
Well, like I said, there's a difference between what happens in by the letter of the law and what happens in real life. And I think oftentimes when you say no, it makes the officer, think, well, what do you have to hide? What do you have to hide?
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the next thing they're going to ask you. Well, why do you have a problem? Why don't you want me to let you search your car if you don't have anything to hide?
Right, but
And then you would plead the fifth.
do you have to say anything? Do you have to say, listen, I know my rights, officer,
Yeah,
and you don't have the
exactly.
right
Know
to
your
search my
rights.
Yeah.
car.
It's probably
so
going
why
to.
don't you get back in your car and drive away?
Yeah,
we'll go home.
That's a good thing to say.
But what can he say
The
to
best
you
thing to
next?
do is probably just not drive around with drugs in your car. So
Yes,
that's
but
probably,
given
that's
that-
probably the best thing to do.
Yeah, but given that how many people listening to this show don't have pot on them right now, right? Nobody. Probably.
I don't know.
everybody.
What are the demographics of your listening audience?
Pot smoking,
Pot smoking.
methamphetamine
using.
Mostly people that listen to this show do methamphetamine.
Okay.
Well, that's what our research. That's what the NPR
It's
audience
truckers.
is.
Truckers.
I don't know. I mean, but I'm just saying, if you can keep a level head, that's what you're supposed to say is you don't have the right to search my car.
Keep a level head.
Or my
and
body.
you don't have the right to search my car.
Right.
I mean, there's varying levels they can detain you. There's a varying amount of time they can actually detain you for just a traffic stop.
Right.
So, but there's a lot that goes into it, and it depends on a lot of circumstances. But if you're acting super nervous and shifty and talking a million miles an hour, and there's other things wrong, it might lead the officer to bring a dog to your car, and if the dog, But the problem with dogs is oftentimes there's false. The dogs aren't the people who are using the dogs don't actually know how to use them, so they're just going to.
Sniff your butt.
They're just gonna.
That's
For
if you're
drugs.
another
For
dog.
drugs,
that
of
is.
course, yeah.
They're just going to give the dog a sort of like a false positive, and the dog's going to react to something, and they're going to use that as just an excuse to get in the car to give them a reason to search a portion of the car.
So basically, if you have
Basically,
got
you're fucked.
methamphetamine,
Basically, you're
fucked.
fucked.
Yeah, okay.
And it would.
Don't do
It's great that the New Orleans police and other places in the country are moving towards having video cameras in cop cars and
that's
on
good.
and body mics and those sorts of things. because-
Transparency, of course it's good.
Transparency, yes. Because if the police aren't doing anything wrong, they have nothing to hide.
Right. But the camera's pointing on the police. It's on them, right? It's on their.
Well, they have
not pointing.
dash cameras that turn
Okay.
on right when the lights go on, and they have body mics that the officers have to turn on when they're making a stop, and they have body cameras too. So
I love it. Bugging the cops.
yeah, and they have cameras on tasers if you didn't know that too. So,
No, I didn't know that.
so if the
That
cop
would
if
be
the
a
cop
great
is
video.
tasering you, there's a video of like that
What an
out
awesome
of the electrodes
shot.
going into your
Wow.
face and then or wherever they're tasing you. So
I don't think they're
Don't
supposed to
tase
tase you
me,
in
bro.
the face.
I think it happens.
What happened at the Supreme Court? Apparently, there was some sort of ruling about.
There was a recent ruling yesterday that came out that the cops have to get a warrant to search your cell phone in
Cell
most
phone,
most
right.
circumstances. Yes.
What's not going to be on your cell phone that's going to be incriminating?
Pictures of your
calls
girlfriend,
to
for one?
pictures of your girlfriend, calls to your drug dealer.
I see.
Yeah,
Could be.
You can't be arrested for having pictures of your own girlfriend on your phone.
if she
in
was
America.
What if she was
okay.
16?
if she was so it's about to yeah.
Well, that would be illegal. But you're not allowed to get busted for that. The cop can't just ask you for your cell phone now. Then.
Well, he could ask you. You don't have to give it over,
Right.
or
Okay.
turn
well,
over
now
the
you-
password. Turn over the password for it.
Okay. Well, this is good information if you can keep a level head. How much am I paying for this normally if I go to the lawyer and
It
if
depends.
I hire you to drive all the way to
Depends.
Shreveport?
How much would you pay me to perform? Is the question.
Well, how much does it cost to get you to play at Neutral Ground? What do you get paid there?
Oh, nothing, because the neutral
Nothing.
ground. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what I'm paying as well.
Yeah.
Really? How do you get paid? How do you make a living?
Very good question. Still working on it.
3 good questions. How do you make a living then? Teaching.
Yes. Mostly teaching, and during the tourist season, I busk on Royal Street.
Ah, okay. Do you have a license for that, by the way?
Not required.
Not required. Anyone
Yeah,
can.
the only catch is
First Amendment. Right?
right. The only catch is if one of the business owners calls the cops on you, you have to move.
But you don't have to give them your phone number or let them look in your violin.
I've
That's
never
good
been
news.
asked. I've never been prompted.
Can I look in your violin case? Sorry, officer. So anyone can just go and play on Royal Street? I wasn't aware
Well,
of
you can
that.
play anywhere you want to.
I was not aware of
There
that. I thought
actually
you had to have a
is.
license.
There are some laws on the books, but they're very controversial, and the police aren't enforcing them right now.
Well,
But
can-
and I've
what
represented
happened to
plenty
the-
of people
yeah.
who've been busted on Frenchman Street for playing music just
Are
on
you
the street.
serious?
So,
Well, how can you get busted for playing music on Frenchman?
well, the police. There's a lot of misinformation going around amongst the police in
They were
terms of
false arrests, then?
enforcing laws. Yes.
Were they false arrests?
Well, they weren't arrests. People are getting ticketed. So, yeah.
Were they
I think
legitimate
some people
tickets?
were arrested. Well, no, but they ended up getting thrown out. So I ended up
Okay,
getting thrown out. But I've
right.
represented plenty of people for being.
So essentially, it's just the cops harassing musicians, even though they're not doing anything
Essentially,
illegal.
yes.
Good to know.
Yes.
Well, I don't busk on Frenchmen, but I also don't busk after dark because I'm usually alone. So I think my chances
on
are
Royal
better.
Street, you're scared on Royal Street of being alone after dark?
Yeah.
What could happen to you? There's like a million
Well,
people.
shit. I mean, there's people getting robbed all over the place. I mean,
And besides, they're
okay.
always drunk creepers who like come up to me and like stare into my face during the day.
Well, do they know you're Miss Caddo Parish? That you're one of the most beautiful women in
Usually-
Louisiana, let's face it.
Usually not.
Do you wear your sash?
No.
Do you still
I
have
don't
it?
think. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't think.
Could
we're
I wear that
supposed
from next
to.
Mardi Gras? Could I go as Miss Caddo Parish next Mardi Gras? That would be a great idea, wouldn't it?
Technically, you're not supposed to, but since I made it myself, because it turns out the pageants also don't provide the sashes. You're
You've
welcome
got to be kidding. So when they put that on you,
No,
you
they
say
don't pro- they
congratulations,
don't
you're
put-
Miss Caddo
They
Parish.
provide the
us money.
crown, but I had to make my own sash with my title on it.
What
What
a
did you make your
lame-ass
sash out of?
operation.
You can purchase them for
Can you make it out of
$45, but that.
How much?
$45 from the Miss America website.
Really? That's worth it
That
for a
sounds
Mardi
like
Gras
a scam.
outfit. Isn't the whole thing sounds like a scam? First of all, you have to come up with $700 to get into the...
Well, technically, all of this, or at least the fundraising requirement, is against Miss America regulations, so it's not a problem in the Miss America system. It's a problem in this state.
Oh,
But it's Louisiana. What are you going to do?
what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Who, what-
Right? We got a lawyer here. What are you going to do?
What
are
is
you
it?
gonna
Who governs it? I mean, is it
the Miss
is there a
Louisiana
Louisiana?
board?
There's a Miss Louisiana board.
Yes.
In
They set the regulations.
good lord, that's crazy. Hey, listen, we're gonna have to get out of here at some point. Do you want to play us another song before?
Yeah, sure. What are you feeling? Celtic,
I don't know.
klezmer, classical,
What do you think, Miles?
upbeat,
what sort of
sad.
Okay, but what sort of music would you like to hear? Upbeat, something upbeat. Is that what
Something
you're
upbeat?
feeling?
Okay.
Something aggressive and upbeat.
Okay. So pop songs. You got it.
Okay. What's this gonna be called? The song?
I don't know. I could do Rocky Road to Dublin, which is about drinking and fighting. Wild Rover, which is just about drinking, or The Two Sisters, which is about killing people, but it's upbeat.
Killing, drinking, or drinking and fighting.
Yes. Killing?
Graham likes the idea of killing.
We have
so
a
she's
request.
she's
You got it. This
she's
is
the
for
producer.
Graham.
Okay. What's it called?
This is the Ballad of the Two Sisters.
Oh, the two sisters. You just said that.
Give me a moment.
There lived two sisters side by side, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. There lived two sisters side by side, the boys are born not for me. There lived two sisters side by side, the eldest for young Johnny cried, I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. Johnny but the youngest a gay gold ring, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. Johnny bought the youngest a gay gold ring, the boys are born not for me. Johnny bought the youngest a gay gold ring, he never bought the eldest a single thing. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. As they were walking by the foamy brim, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. As they were walking by the foamy brim, the boys are born not for me. As they were walking by the foamy brim, the eldest pushed the younger in. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. Sister, oh sister, give me thy hand, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. Sister, oh sister, give me thy hand, the boys are born not for me. Sister, oh sister, give me thy hand, and you can have Johnny and all his land. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. Sister, I'll not give thee my hand, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. Sister, I'm not giving thee my hand, the boys are born not for me. Sister, I'll not give thee my hand, and I'll have Johnny and all his land. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. So away she sang and away she swam, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. Away she sang and away she swam, the boys are born not for me. Away she sang and away she swam, until she came to the miller's dam. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. The miller he took her fine gold ring, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. The miller he took her fine gold ring, the boys are born not for me. The miller he took her fine gold ring, and then he pushed her in again. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me. The miller was hanged on the mountain head, sing-I-dum, sing-I-day. The miller was hanged on the mountain head, the boys are born not for me. The miller was hanged on the mountain head, the eldest sister was boiled in lead. I'll be true unto my love, if he'll be true to me.
Wow, very nice. Ruth Navarre, Miss Caddo Parish, 2013.
Former, but thank you.
Hang on, let me just so there was a song sort of about sibling rivalry and justice.
I wouldn't say yes, just a
Well,
bit of
the
justice
guy-
at the end.
The Miller got did he get boiled in lead or did the
no,
sister
that was
get
just
boiled in lead?
the sister, the original.
So what happened to the
murders.
Miller who pushed her back in the water? He got hanged.
Hanged.
I'm sorry.
He was hanged.
Yes, this version of the story, of course, goes that the Miller gets hanged and the sister boiled in lead.
Okay.
Capital
Wow.
punishment.
Where'd that come from? That
Where'd
song.
the ballad come from?
Yeah.
I think it's just
What's the
traditional
background?
traditional Irish. There's also a Scotch English version called the Bonnie Swans.
The
It's a little
Bonnie
different. In
Swans,
that
okay.
version, the Miller either kills her or just fishes out her body and makes out of her bones. He makes, by some accounts, a fiddle, by others, a harp. And then, of course, magically, the harp or fiddle starts playing and singing about who killed her.
That's a great little story. That's like
Yeah,
a
lots of
like
ghost
what's the
stories.
child?
Lots of grisly
child-
ghost stories
children's
in Celtic ballads. Yes.
Yeah, there's some good ones. It's a lot of the Cajun songs have got bizarre lyrics as well, and they're
And
in
also
French.
old-time American.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a whole genre called murder ballads, which comes from the Irish influence because there's so much of Irish fiddling and ballads in old-time and bluegrass
Right.
music.
Wow, we've got a lot. We could have another whole hour on all this stuff.
I'm down.
Between methamphetamine and Irish Celtic music. Let me just tell you before we go about what's happened to our regular music guests. Andrew Duhon, who's usually here, is off on tour around the world. He's out on tour supporting his Grammy-nominated album, The Moorings. You can find out where he is at his website, andrewduhon.com. And Kelsey May, who's often here as a friend of the show, is out supporting her new album, Half Light. You can see if she's coming to a town near you. She's playing in New Orleans around town, then she's off for the summer around the country. And she is being found at Kelsey May, KELCYMAE.com. Are you familiar with any of these people?
I regret
being
that
on
I am
the folk
not.
scene? You need to catch up.
I do.
Well, we can come see you.
I just haven't run into them on Royal Street, I guess.
We can see you on Royal Street and at the Neutral Ground and other places. Do you have a website? We can link to it on our
I have a
website.
Facebook page.
A Facebook page.
Yeah.
Ruth Navarre, like Navarre
Yep.
in Florida, Navarre.
At the Spanish Kingdom, yes.
The Spanish Kingdom is
It's
where it comes
originally-
from.
yes.
Really?
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
think
know that.
my mom thinks our ancestors were from Spain before the Inquisition, and
Okay.
all the
When
they
Jews
were
got chucked
expelled.
out. Yep,
when the
for
Jews were
not being
expelled from
Catholic.
Spain.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. And so are you the only Jewish Asian person in New Orleans?
Probably.
You don't know any others? You think you would know?
I
them?
don't. I know some on the West Coast, of course.
Okay. All right. Well, Ruth Navarre, thank you so much for joining us. Miss Caddo Parish 2013.
Thanks so much for having me.
Very nice. And Miles Swanson, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us
no problem.
as well. We could put a link to your law practice if you'd like on our
Sure,
website.
no
Maybe
problem.
we can make you some money. Can we get 10% of everything?
Absolutely. No,
That's-
actually, I don't know about
You're not allowed to do that?
that. I don't think so. I think that's
There might be
against
some
the,
law against that, possibly.
There's definitely a law against that.
There is definitely.
Definitely.
Okay. Hey, well, thank you both so much for joining us today. That's been Happy Hour for another hour.
All right.
A producer of our show is Graham DePonte. Our associate producer and technical director and expert on slavery, North and South, is Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh is our music director, and Joshua Brown is our music coordinator. The theme song from Happy Hour, which you're currently listening to, is being played by and was written by Mitch Foreman. The fabulous audio quality of this show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. For more information about their wide range of sound recording equipment, check them out at presonus.com. If you'd like to be on our show, you can stay upright for about an hour. Drop us a line. Our address is on our website, where you can also check out our other Happy Hour shows. There's many more for you to listen to, as well as Out to Lunch with Peter Asciuti live from Commander's Palace, Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic, True to the Game with Chris True and Tammy Nelson, our new show, Nino, New Immigrants New Orleans, about the new New Orleans, with Kim Vu, Midnight Menu +1 with Margot Moss, and The Man Who Ate New Orleans, Ray Canada, and Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tooker. There's something there for everybody, isn't there? You can keep up with us on Facebook, on Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. On all of it, where It's New Orleans, you can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com. And on Facebook, these photos are taken by the fabulous Douglas Engel, who's standing right over there with a camera in his hand. You may recognize him. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or Swell or some other podcast app that you like better, thank you so much for subscribing to us. Take a moment, if you can, if you've got a minute, to rate and review us. That helps other people find us. Don't drive around with drugs in the car.
Don't do it.
That's good
And
advice.
stay in
as well.
school.
Talking of which, thank you to Hangover Destroyer. If you like to drink at night and be able to think next morning, just Google Hangover Destroyer, or if you're not totally fucked up, go to hdestroyer.com. Thanks too to Petite Pet Care. Remember to call them,
Yeah, I'm gonna
Miles,
call
about
them.
your
I'm gonna call them.
111-pound dog. No, you're 111 pounds, Ruth, aren't you?
He's
Or
110.
110, yeah.
110 depends.
Around-
How does it?
Pretty close.
What's the fluctuation of 1 pound there, depending if you had lunch or not or something?
I
What did you have for lunch today?
I think I had eggs and quinoa.
Eggs and quinoa. Did you make that?
It was after a workout, and yes.
Wow. Do you cook lunch yourself, Miles? I never
No,
make
I
anything.
don't cook lunch.
Me neither.
I don't cook. No.
You cook anything?
No.
Let's go to Ruth's place afterwards and have something to eat.
I'm on a special diet, low acid, low potassium, so I can't eat most things.
I don't eat a lot
Or
of
drink.
acid either. Do you eat much acid?
Acid?
No, I hardly do acid
LSD
anymore.
25?
I haven't done that in ages. How much acid do you take, Ruth?
Well, I'm not allowed to now because I'm on this
stay
low
off the
acid,
acid.
low potassium
Stay
diet.
off the acid and the potassium too. It won't do any good for you. Our show is recorded live today at Wayfair on Ferret Street, home of the handcrafted food and spirits where they put fine dining into a sandwich. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon and everybody else back at our office at INO and everyone around the table here at Wayfair, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. We'll see you next time back here on Happy Hour.
Hear that? That's the sweet sound of Minute Maid slushies at McDonald's, turning up your summer with every sip, slurp, and ah.
Get a small sweet peach, blue raspberry, or fruit punch slushie for just $2. Or get any size soft drink for $1. Price and participation may vary. Limited time only. Cannot be combined with combo meal.